Recording. Okay, welcome everyone. This is for the AI-powered pitch deck creation lab. So we're going to create an entire pitch deck in this workshop, both the creation of the content and the visual side of things, which we covered a little bit in the last workshop. And before we start with the workshop, I would like Eric to talk a little bit about Stifel, who's sponsoring this event.
Yep. Hey everyone, great to connect. Really excited to be here and to go through this presentation with you. If you're not familiar with Stifel and what we do, we're a full service commercial and investment bank. We also have a wealth management division and a private bank division that partners closely with founders to help you in your personal financing needs as well as the needs for your business. So we partner with venture capital firms, have a great network of relationships in New York. We fund both the venture capital firms and private equity firms themselves, and then give venture debt to their portfolio companies to help extend their runway and provide a non-dilutive source of capital to execute following an equity raise. So we'd love to connect if you're a founder in the early stage ecosystem and see if we can be, supportive and helpful in connecting you to other founders and to investors who might be a good fit for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. So a little bit about me. I've been in this industry for a little while. So I've coached startups since I think 9 years ago, like 8, 9 years ago, with Katya, who's also working for Stifel now. Many startups. I work with also a lot of companies, Fortune 500, and also in education. So that's my background. If you wanted to connect with me, I'm gonna drop the LinkedIn in the chat, and also I just dropped a link to join Gamma, which is the app tool that we're going to use today. So if you join using that link, you get 200 credits, so you can start playing with it. Okay, enough about me. So the learning objectives is by the end of this workshop, you'll master the AI tools to rapid pitch deck creation. And then create professional pitch deck that capture investor attention. And we're also going to go a little bit into the data research to strengthen your narrative for the pitch deck, and then play around a little bit with like iterating and polishing, refining the pitch deck itself. This is the agenda. So we'll just run through the introduction, and then we're going to get a little bit into like the pitch deck statistics. For those of you who attended the last workshop that Max hosted, you'll see the continuation from there. So that was like from last season, kind of like Netflix style. And activity, we'll do like a bunch of activities, very, very much like demo heavy. So hopefully you get a lot out of this. And then we'll end with the Q&A. So the statistics, this shouldn't be surprising for those of you who have been working with MIS founders and trying to pitch, or also from the other side, from the venture side. An average investor spend 2 minutes or less to review a pitch deck. And if we had like we have 12 slides, that means that 10 seconds or less per slide. So that means that concise is key. So we need to focus on the essentials, and meeting is the goal, not getting the investment, just meeting, right? And we're framing this from the perspective of startup founders trying to get funding, trying to get the meeting. Now, there are two pitch deck components, the content and the visual design, nothing surprising there, right? Missing the types that could prevent you from getting the meeting, or potentially missing content, disjointed narrative flow, or content inaccuracy from the content side. And the visual design, it looks unprofessional, too much content on the slide, or confusing layout or visualization. Yeah, like confusion, nah, right? So these two things are the things that we're going to address today. So we assume that you got nothing, starting from zero. So the first activity, we're going to use Gemini and to create the prompt that we'll use for Gamma. Gamma is the tool for creating the pitch deck itself. But instead of us creating the prompt there, why don't we ask Gemini to help us with that? Especially if you're not sure what to include, where to start, this would be a good way to do that. And I'll outline the steps here. So first, define the persona, right? who you are, but also your goal, who you're targeting. And then we want to know, we want to also give the constraint, the limit for gamma prompt, because that will be the output. Because these LLMs work really well with limits, with context and constraints, and customize with your business information. And then we test and iterate that, right? So don't worry about this. You're gonna see this in action. Google Gemini, just to check in, you guys can see my Gemini screen? Yes? Cool. Thanks, Max. Okay, so I'm going to drop the prompt little by little, right? So that we could see the different components. So first, help me create the prompt to give to Gemini, Gamma that app so it can generate a pitch deck for my business. If we just give this prompt, it's going to give us something very generic. So I'm going to add a little bit more context, which is, so this is just the task itself with the goal, and then I'm going to add it, the goal. This pitch deck will be used for fundraising, targeting seed round investors. So now Gemini has a little bit better idea of, okay, this is what we're trying to do, narrow down the goal. And then I'm going to add even more to just make this a bit more targeted. Before you give me the prompt, to have a good understanding of my business, ask me relevant questions. And then I wanted to ask the question one question at a time, because I don't want it to just like bombard me with a lot of questions that overwhelm me. And I'm like, I don't know how to do it. It's too much. Forget it. But one question at a time. And then I said, we don't need to go too deep since Gamma prompt only allows for 500 character max. Right, pretty straightforward. But the whole point of this is so that we don't have to spend too much time going back and forth and feeling overwhelmed by the output of the LLM. So let's see what we get. Yep. So I'm going to just use my school business so that I could just show that to you guys. What is the core problem your business solve for your customer? AI integration into their UX workflow. So this is a good technique to ask the AI to ask you one question at a time, treating this like a coaching session, if you will, so that it actually can ask follow-up also, as opposed to just a bunch of questions at the same time, and it's just overwhelming. So that means the next question: who is the primary target customer for this integration specific industry? Government, mid to senior level IC UX professionals. Next question. So as you can see, it can ask these kind of questions like one after another, practical application from day one. And this helps it create the prompt, but later on, we can also use it to evaluate the output, right? So we're giving it context, we're teaching it what our business is about. One time fee. And then once we feel like it's enough, then we can also just ask it, oh, here you go. Create the seed round pitch deck for investors. Our solution integrates AI, right? So this way I don't have to like craft this. Then I would take this, go to Gamma. So I'm going to show you first the interface here. So I just created one, but I'm going to delete this one. So this is the end result. Send to trash. So create new. Now, with this, you could paste in text. Let's say you have the outline already, existing content, you can drop it in there. What we're going to use is generate, so they can just create it for us magically. Or you could import file or URL from like existing presentation or web pages. Right? If you had like PowerPoint or Google Slide, they make it easier for you to bring it in. So I'm going to use this, describe what you like to make, and just drop the prompt, right? So there are different options here. You can create social, document, web page. We're just focusing on a presentation. I'm going to put 10 cards, generate outline. The good thing about this is that it actually already knows for pitch deck like this, what are the content that we need to have. So it makes our life easier. So issue that I outlined earlier with like content, like missing content or the narrative flow and not like feel disjointed, not flowing, this actually help solve that issue or preemptively address that issue. But as with everything with AI, we always need to review what it gives us, right? So start with, okay, the problem, market opportunity, our solution, product demonstration, immediate user value, competitive advantage, go-to-market strategy, financial, you're asking about. Seems pretty good to me. So this is the kind of thing that seems like it's really good on a surface level, but the real test is that when we actually present it, right? Anyway, so looks good to me as a starting point, and then I get to choose the different themes. So that you could also see more, and you can also customize it. So I created one earlier, so I'm gonna use that, but I'll show you later after this how to customize this. Select the theme as image sources, AI images, so we don't have to worry about this. In basically, these are the different AI models for image generation that you could choose, but I'm just gonna leave it as flux, all images, AI images, and then generate. And start generating using my branding. Now, these numbers most likely are made up, which is why we're going to bring this back later to Google and have Google do Gemini, do the research so we can actually validate this and make sure that this is actual credible. Any questions so far while we're waiting for this? Thoughts, comments, questions while we're waiting for this to generate? Nope. Okay. Pretty straightforward so far. So as you can see, it looks pretty good. But then, let's say you wanted to edit things, then what you could do is that on here, you could change it just like normal, right? And then you also have these things. You can search for something, you use different templates. Like, for example, you want to use the different layout, and then you have the smart layout. It's pretty robust actually. And then you can add more blocks there, different blocks, like you want to add like bullet list, table, and whatnot. Images, videos, embedded apps, so you can drop in there. And then the other thing you can do is that you can add comment for collaboration, right? And here you can edit with AI. So for example, here I wanna let's see, be more specific. So that's also nice to have like the different options to just like, okay, make it do this. I feel like sometimes I see a slide and I'm like, I don't know what's missing, but this feels off. So that could help. And now it's too much. So I'm just gonna be like, make it shorter and see what it does. Right. And then the other thing that's really cool here actually with the image, you can also ask AI to, this is actually mind blowing for me. Use Asian female as the character. Well, oh, let's try again. Uh, change the character to Asian female. Well, in the rehearsal it works, so hopefully this works. Yeah, these image generation tools are becoming really powerful actually. And we'll see if it actually does it, but it's a hit or miss. The other thing is that sometimes when you ask it to update something, oh, there you go. and it's keeping everything else the same. That's pretty impressive these days with consistency. Any questions about these? Yeah, cool. The other thing to look out for here is really this pretty straightforward in terms of the way they display it. A lot of times the visualization is off. Like this, like I don't know if I want to use this kind of the pyramid thing. Maybe it makes sense, maybe it doesn't. Another one is like this, like what is the bar charts for? But it's cool. So things like that, watch out for that. Now, from here, I'm going to go out to this, and I'm going to show you this is how we can actually import if you want to import things. But then there's also the theme import. If you already had like a brand that is established, right? You're not completely new company. You have like PowerPoint or slide deck that you wanted to use as the brand to as a reference for the AI. You could upload it here. So that way it's consistent with what you already have, right? With your existing branding. If you don't have that, you can also like build a theme, which is what I did. So there's like the starting point here, or you could like have the customize. So the primary color headings are essentially just choosing the same things that you normally do on like other other apps. And then you'll see the preview here, so you can see how that's actually applied. For example, if I wanted to change the background to let's say this, you see how it just like quickly, it's really intuitive actually. Um, it's quite limited compared to what they have, obviously, because they don't want to allow us to do everything, but it's pretty good in terms of like aligning it to existing brand. Yeah, so that's that. I'm gonna close without saving, and then from here, oh, no, this is the thing. So I'm gonna go back out to Gammas. So that was like one UX thing that was confusing for me. Okay, so from here, what we're gonna do is that we're going to get this out. So from here, you can just share this. If you just share it as a publish to site, it's just basically a web page that you could quickly just share with people to consume, right? Um, and then you can also, what I'm going to do is actually to pull this out so we can bring it to Gemini to evaluate, right? Where was that? Where's the export? This one is a bit hidden. So the export is under the three dots actually, not under the present stuff because they actually um, deprioritizing that. But when you go to export, you can export as these different things, right? You can export as PDF, as PowerPoint, Google Slide, even, and PNGs. Like I tried the Google Slide one, it's not like one-to-one, but it's close enough. So you'll still need to do some cleanup there. If you export it as PNG or PDF, it's pretty good. PowerPoint, not sure. So I'm exporting as PDF so I can give it back to Gemini. And in the last workshop, we did a little exercise to evaluate it. We got to use that here to get Gemini to tell us what it thinks. So we're back here. Pull. So I'm just going to show you guys this real quick. This is what we got from Gamma in terms of the PDF. Of course, because I'm using the free version, there's this made with Gamma. You can like get it, remove for the paid plan. So I think what was different is that just want to point this out. Close this. Here, I have this nice gradient text. It doesn't translate on a PDF. So things like that, if that's important for your brand, then you want to pay attention to that. So some of the design may not translate one-to-one, but it's fairly close. And for the purpose of evaluating it using another LLM, this is good enough. So we're going to bring this to Gemini. And then here is, okay. Now play the role of a seed investor. Evaluate this pitch deck and provide your assessment. Let me know what's missing. We could go into a deeper analysis, which is like what I showed people last time with the rubric and whatnot. But for now, I just want to get a really quick read of what it thinks. And giving it the role always helps frame the conversation. Okay, so the strength, clear problem, market opportunity, target audience defined, strong value proposition, one-time fee model, blah, 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 areas of improvement. Okay, now I'm going to open a new one. Now I'm going to do deep research. Don't ask me again. So what I'm going to do now is to have Google to do deep research for me to find data to support my narrative in that pitch deck. So I'm going to give it the same PDF. I'm a startup founder building a pitch deck for seed round fundraising. Attached is the draft. Please, uh, please review and do research on the data used there to support the narrative. So it's going to create a research plan first, and this may take a few minutes because it's going to go real deep. And then what we're going to do is we're going to ask it to bring it back to the how to apply it to the pitch deck. Okay, start research. Yeah, this is something that Google does that's actually really nice with the plan, research plan. First, normally with the other tools like Grok or uh, Perplexity, they just go and do it without asking for the user to approve the plan. Actually, while this is happening, I'm curious if Perplexity would also. So I'm going to ask Perplexity to also do the research for us so we can compare the output. It's a good practice to do that, especially when you're dealing with data to make sure that the AI is not hallucinating. So I'm just going to give it the exact same prompt. Is this research? No, I'm not going to use the pro. It's going to take too long. So it's reviewing and then researching. So this way, it's not just researching everything, but the research is focused on really helping us make the pitch deck more robust with the real data. Let's see how far going. Yeah, you can leave this chat. It's slow. Oh, I'm curious to see. Any questions about what we've done so far? Well, we're waiting for this to develop or comment. Thoughts? Everything makes sense so far, seems like. Okay. Cool, cool. Yeah, something that's really cool with this Gamma thing is actually the animation part of it to make it, especially if you're sending out the deck to people, because it's using HTML, it actually brings it out. And I think we have that a little bit with this, like that. That could actually make your pitch deck come to life. Okay, let's see. Oh, it's just still starting. Oh, this one is pretty much done. Okay. Now, with this, as you can see, it's deep. And then with the Google one, the Gemini, because it's doing deep research, it's going to be even more extensive than this, right? If you're, trying to just apply this really quickly, you may want to just double check the sources real quick, like the numbers that you want to incorporate. But to implement that, I would actually ask questions like, okay, now map it back to the deck and show me which numbers, stats to use on which slide as the source. I want to make sure I can verify the source. So this way I don't have to try to connect the dots myself because it thinks that these things are relevant, but that is well, it's subjective, right? So I'm going to see what it does. So in the meantime, if you guys actually have Gamma open and you want to try making something, so I could help also troubleshoot while we're on the call. So quickly do that. That would be great. So Gemini still researching, but it's the same process actually. Okay, so here you go. For the problem slide, right? It's saying that UX professionals spend da 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 da, and then financial impact, market opportunity, our solution. So it's mapping it to that with the sources like what we asked for. So this is a good practice to tell it the way we want to receive the output instead of just like, okay, tell me this. And it's not going to give us something that we can use. All right, so taking this, I'm going to just go straight to Gamma again, as I assuming that this is correct. The problem slide. I'm going to add, let's see if it does it. May add it using this data. No, let's just start with the first two. Let me just open this side by side. There you go. UX professional spend 40% over there. And then on the other side, workflow bottlenecks, 70% of mid to senior. That's it. Just like that, right? The wording, we could potentially ask it. So in this case, what I want to do is actually to add sources. So this is just gonna get it from here. Oh, it's a PDF. Okay. Just gonna get the URL. Add the source for the data as a footnote on this slide, which is very important for slides that show data, obviously. The name of the document was, where was it? Oh, wait, hold on. Okay. Actually, I just realized something. Perplexity, instead of doing research, is actually just using our data, our power, our pitch deck as the data source. I'm gonna have it do like because I just realized that it's like one, it's got referring back to this thing. So that's something to look out for. Um, the data, where did this come from? So it actually did the research here, but then when I ask it to map back instead of using the sources from here, it's just like everything here is just 1, 1, 1, 1. So I need to change the prompt from your earlier research. So we can add to footnote on slide. Let's see if I actually understood it. Seems like it's still confused by that. I need to figure out how to prompt it better or just do it manually. Yeah, it's still using the source from there. Okay, I'm just gonna try one more thing. Potentially this could work. I'm gonna brute force it, which is so this is one hack that we could do whenever the AI is not giving us what we want, and then we need to like push it, just screenshot something that we wanted to use as a reference, and you can use that easily because they all take attachment and have vision now. That claim, so this is this. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to this. So this is also a quick way to edit whatever that is instead of like keep going on the conversation. Okay, map to the source from your research, and you. Oh, I can't add it there. Can I attach? I'm gonna attach it here then. There you go. Use the sources in the attachment from your earlier research for the. Let's see if this understands it. Oh, there you go. Oh, oh, it still doesn't. So I need to figure out how to do that. So that's something to look out for when you're doing things like this is that the source. So in this case, what I would do is potentially I would just like try to like go back to this. Which one is this? From here, it's number 6, right? So I'm just going from there because it's already highlighted here. And one thing that is actually good with the way they presented this is that it has this like pitch deck claims, market research support, recommendation, and then it actually tells you whether this is supported by the market research or not, and the sources that support it. And sometimes you can't find something that actually support it, and in which case then you can just ask it to give you even more research to do more research. For example, I could just ask it to do research, do more research to find additional data stats to support the narrative in the pitch deck. So yeah, so if the current data that we have is not strong enough, we could always ask them to do that. Now let's see if Gemini is done. Okay, understanding the request. Okay. Yeah, it's doing really deep dive here. Deepening, clarifying market opening. No. Yeah, it's still researching. Next research space. Because it's going really deep. but the process is the same. We'll bring it back and double check. So as you can see here, it's finding even more sources, even more stats that we can incorporate. And from here, one thing that could be challenging actually is the visualization, but Gamma has different, like from here, you can potentially find different layouts and smart blocks to actually, the building blocks to have that. And then they have also this charts and diagrams, right? Depending on what kind of visualization that you want, you could use these different things. Now, the difficulty sometimes with this is that it tends to just like do something based on what looks good, and it may not make sense for the user to tell the story. For example, like this, right? Immediate user value, what are we looking at here? Right? In this case, maybe this is not the best way to show this. Or like, I don't know, what is this? So the visualization, watch out for that because they tend to just like give you whatever looks good. And here, as a designer, I don't like how this is like going up like this, but that's like refinement and scrutinizing it. Um, I just want to go back to Gemini real quick before next step. So it's still creating the report, but you get the gist of it. Any questions? I think I've shown quite a bit. Hopefully you guys are ready to make your own pitch deck now. Yes? And okay, so we created the prompt with Gamma. So just to recap, and that is to help us give the prompt that is actually accurate. So Gamma would know what kind of business that we're in, so the content won't be too far off, right? And then we gave it our context, which is the name of the founder, well, not name, the kind of founder we are, the industry stage, and whatnot. And we even asked Gemini to ask questions, one question at a time, to pull those out of us. The goal, the limit, and then we can give it to Gamma to create the deck, and we can also give Gamma more information about our branding information so that our pitch deck is aligned in terms of the look and feel and visual with the rest of our assets. Have it build it, edit it, and then we bring it back to Gemini to evaluate, and then from there to also do deep research so we can get the data and bring it back and update it. And I think that should do it. And then we refine it. And this is the part that will be very time consuming actually. The generation is the fast part. Just to create something is fast, right? As you could see that it's just in what, like 30 minutes. We got a pitch deck that looks finished, but now it's the content refinement is the part that will take a lot of time. So that's going to be the next thing. So anything else that we want? Any questions about whatever we cover? Any blocker? I think you guys need to test it out, and that's when you actually potentially have questions. And if so, then find me on LinkedIn or whatever. And with that, the next thing is if you wanted to get one-on-one coaching with me, you can reach out to me or like through Eric. They cover that if you open an account. And the next one will be for deep dive into like research and the different kind of research and analysis using AI tools in 2 weeks. Eric.
Yeah. Danny, thank you so much. Super helpful. Anna, Mark, hope this was informative. Would love to form a relationship with you both. As Danny mentioned, if you are looking for a bank account and want to set up some time with some one-on-one coaching with Danny, please, let me know and we'll get you squared away with that session. So thanks again.
All right. Thanks, everyone.